worries. Justin, you can stay where you are. I'll just do you now since you're up here.
Okay.
And you're here. I'm looking at town treasurer, and it's you.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you. While he's getting settled, I can take my piece of this, which was you had asked me to obtain a legal opinion whether a background check could be conducted on an appointed treasurer. The answer is most likely, almost certainly yes. There are other communities that do that. There is what appears to be statutory authority for that. And as long as the position involves the handling of money, which I think this pretty clearly does, the legal opinion is that we would be on pretty good ground requiring a background check.
Thank you. So I think there was a couple other questions you wanted to cover off from the town treasurer's comments last week. I mean, she's been the town treasurer for 14 years. We know that. I think there's some things that may have changed over that period of time that you wanted to clarify.
So, yeah, one of the items, when she spoke last week, she spoke what currently is in place. And I'm saying that on purpose because she has allowed the finance department to put specific not regulations, but deterrents and safe holds in place to prevent bad things from happening to the town's finances. She mentioned that she's not able to go into the bank right now and take out money. That's 100% correct because of what we currently have in place. She mentioned that she's not able to essentially stop the town hall from running. Again, that's true because of the things that she's allowed us to put in place and allowed us to keep in place. One of the items she's allowed us to put in place is something called positive pay. That essentially means every check that's written, we send it to the bank to let them know that, it's Justin Campo, $10. So if that check comes back Justin W. Campo, I get an email notifying me that the check does not match what was sent, even something that small that changes it minimal. That being said, as I told us last year, my concern is what can happen, what the future can hold. We're talking about background checks, resumes, things of that nature. Right now, the qualification to be treasurer for the town of Londonderry, which is a $40+ million budget and oversees over $100 million coming in, is being 18 years old, living in town, and getting one more vote than the next person. That's the only qualification.
So are you saying, if I reverse engineer what you're saying is, are you saying if a different town treasurer was in place, they could change the rules?
Yes, essentially what will end up happening is if we have another town treasurer come in, we would have to re-sign signature cards and essentially put their name on the town's accounts. That treasurer can go and say, I don't want the finance director as someone that can access the town accounts. With that being said, I now would have no access to the town accounts and would not be able to oversee anything unless they were to provide me with the information. That, as you can imagine, can cause issues. They also can then go and take away the positive pay because they don't believe that it'll be worth it. At that point, you can kind of piece it together where if I'm not getting notification that the checks that I believe are being written are being sent to who they are, whoever that treasurer is has full control over the town's finances with no oversight from anyone else. Again, that can happen with an appointed, it can happen with elected. The difference is we know that with an appointed, you have the ability to do the background check. You have the ability to see their resume, to see what, qualifies them to be able to do it, rather than the 18-year-old who got one more vote. Yeah. So, that, like I said, that's one of the concerns is that they are able to come in and prevent all this. And with what's happened recently, I just felt it would be irresponsible to not discuss this again, even though we had discussed it previously.
Any questions for the finance director?
Were you able to find out any of the town information?
So the town of Barrington, Campton, Derry, Greenfield, Greenland, Hebron, Holderness, Hooksett, Hudson, Litchfield, Madison, Manchester, Merrimack, Merrimack Village District, Nashua, Pelham, Stratham, Swayze, Wolfboro, and I believe Wilmot. However, the information I got kept going back and forth on them. And I'm sure there are more out there. This was what I was able to pull up within the timeframe.
Okay.
But just to clarify, all those towns you just listed have appointed?
Correct.
So it is your professional recommendation that the town of Londonderry move forward with a charter amendment back to the ballot again with a greater understanding of the fact that we should probably move to an appointed town treasurer since we're moving somewhere around $120 million through the town.
I would agree with that. That, in my professional opinion, it makes more sense to have somebody that is, for a fact, is qualified to be able to oversee the finances. It also allows you, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but should something awry, you're able to remove that individual or freeze their abilities much quicker than you would with an elected official. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we can look into that to make sure.
Need a legal clarification on that, because I'm not sure that you can under state law. At least the way I read it, but I'm not a lawyer.
I'll obtain that, Mr. Chairman.
Like I said, I'm not 100% sure on that, but that would be an added benefit if we are able to.
Okay, so basically where we're at is we can entertain going through the process of seeing if we want to take this to the ballot again. We can decide not to take it to the ballot, but we need to start that process if we're going to contemplate it again.
That's right. And the next step, Mr. Chairman, it would be a public hearing. We went through this last year. So the public hearing, you have to give 7 days newspaper notice beforehand. The public hearing occurs. That sets in motion a series of reviews and approvals by the Department of Revenue Administration, the Secretary of State, and the Attorney General's office. That takes time, and so you have to march that out and figure out what your drop dead date is to have that public hearing. I think that we could get away with a public hearing as late November, but that's starting to cut it very, very close. And so I would encourage the council to, if we're going to go down this road, schedule an earlier public hearing. But as you pointed out, we could have a public hearing, get the AG and other state approvals, and then decide when those come back, we're not going to move forward with this. So it's really something that just preserves our ability to go forward if that's what the council
So I
wants to
think
do.
the ask is do we want to go through the process to prepare for it, and we're missing 2 counselors, just be ready if we decide we want to do it.
Is it something that if we put off until November 6th would be an issue?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Would it be worthwhile for the finance director and the town manager to inquire upon how Manchester goes about their appointed treasurer and what the list of duties are and the parameters that they have to abide by?
Their
if-
finance director is their treasurer.
They are, okay. And I guess, you had gone through many other towns where it's appointed. Is it also a separate person from the finance director?
Depends on the town.
Okay.
Some towns have it as someone completely separate outside of town hall. Some have it as essentially the finance director or the number 2. But when I say number 2, whether it's deputy finance director, controller, accountant, whatever that would be. It really varies depending on the town.
And are the responsibility parameters in place and written out for that appointed town treasurer as separate from their duties, or no?
Yes, a lot of times, however, they are intermingled, if that makes sense.
Yes.
If you were to look at our controller, one of the items that their job is to do is to reconcile bank statements. One of the jobs of the treasurer would be to reconcile bank statements.
Okay.
I saw something in more detail from the town of Hudson. I think they actually got somebody from outside the town, didn't they?
Correct. A lot of town, not a lot. When you do appointed, you do have the ability to remove the residency requirements.
But you don't have to.
You don't have to.
I just wanted to ask, in your opinion, do you agree with Kathy that it should be somebody outside the town? It should be someone that is appointed. If we go through this route, it should be someone that's appointed, not with the town. It shouldn't be the same person, as you
It
said.
said outside this building.
Yeah, outside this bill. Yeah.
In my opinion, I think it should be somebody in the finance department. I think you're duplicating efforts there, and I understand that some individuals want to see the oversight. However, my viewpoint on this is the individuals in the finance department are hired to do this job. That is their job. That's what puts gas in their car, food on their table. A treasurer with a $2,500 stipend, if something happens between their job or doing this, $2,500 isn't covering their expenses. So they're going to focus on that, and this will sit by the wayside, which no fault of them. I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. You got to do what's best for your family and things of that nature, where 25 doesn't cover it. In my opinion, it should be somebody within the finance department.
And we can debate that out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else? I mean, I guess all we're looking for is should they, we're not setting a date, but should they start going down the path to figure out what the next steps are be? I think that's what we're looking for, right?
Correct.
So we're saying, should they spend their time there figuring that out so that we can figure out whether or not we want a public hearing?
I would say so, yes.
I don't have a problem looking into it.
Very good.
All right? We'll go further.
Thank you.
Thank you.